morning and welcome to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera, and once again, we welcome you worldwide, and we thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule to join us right here on nextsportstar.com like you've done for 6 years plus. God bless you. Thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule to join us right here on Red Card and nextsportstar.com. Tonight, an exclusive at 8:30, Will Johnson of Orlando City joins me right here. And you know we're going to talk about that article, but we will also talk about him signing on with Orlando City. I talk the talk, I walk the walk. I will never, ever sugarcoat it or hide behind anyone. And I will never be fed any gobbledygook from any club, vice president, president, GM, or coach. I walk to my beat. I sing to my tune, and no one will ever stop me. Will Johnson will be here on tonight. The other night, I had a few things to say about Will Johnson. I was quite surprised, shocked, and it left a sour taste in my mouth. And I will tell Will that, and we will see where it goes from there. But joining us in a couple minutes or less, right from Los Angeles, first and foremost, Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma Academy. He'll talk to us about the Combine. He'll talk to us about his players down there. Chris Nanko. He'll talk to us about Awuya and others that have really impressed with other colleges and universities. His thoughts on the whole Combine and getting ready for the draft in a couple days. And then after that, we'll talk with Leo Molinelli of Corriere Canadese. We'll get his thoughts on TFC in the offseason. Have they done enough? Do they need to do more? What about a number 10? What about a defender they need to add? We will discuss it with Leo Molinelli. Again, I thank you so much for making time. We possibly will take a quick commercial break as our producer in the back there, Jordan, is trying to get a hold of Bobby Smyrniotis in Los Angeles. I could see he's having a little bit of problem with that. So tell you what, we'll take a quick commercial break. Our producer, Jordan, will take us into commercial, and then coming back, we will hopefully get Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma. But I believe he's actually connected with him now. So if I'm not mistaken, Jordan has Bobby Smyrniotis on the line, and we will talk with Bobby and get his thoughts on the MLS Combine. And he has not gotten him online. So we'll take a quick commercial break, and coming back, we'll try and get a hold of Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma. Stay tuned right here on nextsportstar.com.
The last thing I remember was my mother saying to me, Giacomino, ti voglio bene, bedroom man, sangue mio. I gave her a kiss, and it was the last time I ever saw my mother. I'll tell you a story. Nobody with our people.
You want to talk to Jack?
I sell speed. I sell adrenaline.
Hey, I got enough trombone players in my band.
How are you, Jack? Everything all right? I love to shoot.
First, what you do is you pull your intestines out of your ass, and you tie them in a Windsor knot around your neck, and then you talk to Jack.
You're a good man.
Make no mistake about it, I'm not a good man. But if you're my friend...
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. As I said, stay tuned at 8:30, an exclusive, an interview right here on Red Card from Orlando City. Will Johnson, former TFC player. He's also in the Canada camp getting ready for some friendlies. Will Johnson will join us. And of course, I will ask him about what he had to say in that Toronto Star article. And I'm sure he will give us all that he can explain to our listeners, our viewers out there, because there's a lot to discuss. I was very disappointed, surprised and shocked, and left a sour taste in my mouth. And I'm going to ask Will why he made some of those comments. But joining us right now from Los Angeles, from Sigma Academy, Bobby Smyrniotis. Bobby, welcome. Very good. You're just a little bit breaking up there. Hopefully we can get a clear connection from Los Angeles there. Let's talk about the Combine. Let's talk about your players. I got to watch each and every game, and I got to tell you, Bobby, we've heard about all the names like Reed, Wright, Shamit Shomi, and all the guys out there. But one guy to me that didn't get enough respect, that showed leadership qualities, was Chris Nanko. I believe this is a hidden gem in the draft. Talk about Chris.
Yeah, I think so far in 2 days he's been 2 days of games down here. He's been very good. He's shown the qualities that you need to show in the position, and that's the most important thing when you get into these combines. You know, most of these players are are highly scouted beforehand by the clubs. So a lot of the clubs already know the qualities and what Chris brings to the table. That's very good. And in the end of the day, he's a winger, and in the 2 days he's shown an ability to take on players and be very forceful and bold about doing it, and that's the most important thing.
Bobby, talk about the other player you have down there in the Combine. He also has shown some glimpses of real brilliance.
Yeah, Kwame Aua, I think yesterday in the game was probably, I think, the top 3 performer on the field. And when you're looking at it, and he played a different role. I mean, he's an interesting player who can play multiple roles on the field. His first day at the Combine was playing on the left side, and yesterday played for most of the match in the midfield as an attacking midfielder and a holding guy. And yeah, he was very good in his distribution. Moving the ball forward and getting into spaces. And again, he's another player that everyone in the league knows very well from his time at UConn, and has been scouted very highly. So a lot of the guys already know the qualities of the players and of those 2 guys. And a lot of this is just a little bit of validation and just seeing a few extra things. The Combines, really works for sometimes some of the players who haven't been seen, haven't been scouted well, and that gives an opportunity for the clubs to get a better look at players.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad the way you described and explained that, Bobby, because I got to be honest with you. Watching all those games in the last couple of days, you could see, I think it was Team Chaos, the team in orange there, if I recall. A lot of their players were uncomfortable. They weren't settled in. They didn't know each other very well. Of course, every team didn't know each other very well. And you could see the passes weren't going as crisp as they needed to be. Players weren't in the right positions. And it's hard because, when you're on a team, a college or university team, you practice day in and day out. You understand one another. Games come. You know where you got to be. And in these situations, everyone's thrown together at the last second.
Yeah, definitely. It's not easy to put 60 players together, split them in 14, and say, hey, guys, let's go out there and play. So that's why in a situation like this, it's important for the players to be good in their individual roles and tasks, and not so much how they function within the team. So if you're a winger, are you taking players on? Are you a holding midfielder? Are you distributing? Are you linking everything in midfield and also being able to break up the play? If you're an attacking midfielder, are you showing those glimpses that, you're penetrating through midfield and playing those final balls? So it's more about the individual aspects of the position, and are those players showing that in their time in the field, as opposed to so much how they function tactically and as a group, because it's very difficult.
Bobby, let's talk about the pressure, the stress that these young men have. We know that they have to perform on the field to show what they can bring to the table. And as you explained, maybe some of these players aren't at their best in these games that they've shown, and they've shown their best with their university or colleges. But the stress and pressure builds up. How do you talk to your players that are there to calm them down, to focus, and to just make them understand that, hey, it's a little piece of the puzzle. Do what you can, but let's not forget that the GMs and coaches have seen a lot of footage throughout your season.
Yeah, I think it's you stress those points that you hit on there, Anthony. I've got the luxury of talking with quite a few people in the league from a coaching aspect, from a management aspect. Who will get more information on the player, but who will also talk to me about the players, and we've seen him X amount of times, and this is what we've seen, and we've had those conversations. So you try and pass that on to the players so they do understand there's a lot more that goes behind it than the 5 days that they're down here. I think that's the most important. And again, it's guys just get out there, have some fun on the field, do a few things that feel comfortable, and we go from there, because your quality is not based on the 3 games played at the Combine, but like I said, it's just showing those qualities that need to come out positionally.
Bobby, I believe the first 10 picks are the most talented, the most important players that are going to go in the draft. And then I believe from 10 on, the teams are going to be drafting for need in different positions that they need. But I believe in the first 10, they're going to draft for the most explosive, talented player there is. Correct or not?
Yeah, I think when you look at how the situation in the draft is this year, I think that's exactly how it goes. We'll go after the guy that people, or the players that people think are most ready to somehow get into this league, and then from there go into a positional manner. But we also saw last year a team like Philadelphia go after positional needs right off the top with the 3rd and 4th pick in the draft. So, and that usually changes the dynamic, and that's always the interesting thing about these drafts. One team does something differently, and it throws off a little bit of what everyone else is doing. but I do foresee that. And I always think in this draft type of system that you are going to have 15 legitimate players in this league, down the road. And they may be guys that go early in this draft. They may be guys that go later. They may be guys that play in their first year. They may be playing 3 years down the road. But there's always good players. Some of them will be depth players, and sometimes the team will really get lucky and get a Kyle Aaron come into them.
So, Bobby, let's discuss how this all comes into play here into this draft. The general managers, the presidents, the coaches have watched the combine. They've watched a lot of footage. But when they come to you and they say, hey, we really like Kwame Awuya, or we really like Chris Nanko, but we need to know a little bit more off the field. As an example, their family, what type of a person they are, some of their enjoyments away from the field, some of the things that maybe we don't know, but you know as their coach in the past. What are you telling these GMs and coaches? What are they asking you in regards to some of these players?
Yeah, obviously it's an important factor. You can see what happens on the field, but you never know what's going on off the field. So you always want to have as much intel on that as possible, and I think that's important from a scouting aspect of any club, and whenever they're looking at any player. So it's true when it comes to our players, but many other Canadian players who are in this process that I also speak to clubs about, because they're looking to ask my opinion on. When it comes to our guys, you have to reference and you look at our players and how they conduct themselves over their years at Sigma in training. How were they? How professional was their mindset from a work ethic and getting on the field and doing their business? As they've matured and gone a little bit older and gone into college and come back and played with us in League One, and how that transformation has been as a player. And how they are in their mentality from when things are going very well to when things aren't going well, because that's also important to see how a player fluctuates emotionally. And I think that's one thing with a lot of our players here at Sigma is very good. We try and keep them on neutral ground, never being too excited when things are going well, and never getting too down on themselves when things aren't the best. Because I think the most important is to be able to have a neutral perspective and just keep on working and keep on playing.
I spoke to a general manager a couple of weeks ago in MLS, Bobby, and I spoke to him about how much they go in depth in using analytics, how much stats, how much of all this new fad, as they like to call it in different sports they're using today, analytics. He wasn't really a fan of it. Some are, some aren't. Are you hearing the buzz around there that a lot of GMs and coaches are really relying on a lot of this analytical stats and stuff on players maybe they haven't heard of to make a decision?
Listen, I think it's all depends on the philosophy of the team and the coaching staff and the group together. You're seeing more clubs that have maybe a specified person on the analytics aspect, but it comes down to different ways of breaking down the game. I met a couple of people today, GMs and so on, and at the end of the day, they like to make sure they're looking at things and seeing things with their eyes as opposed to just looking at the numbers. When you look at it, from my perspective, I think you need a healthy balance of both. Because in the end of the day, you have to see the effectiveness of the player on the field, live, really in the match, and then supplement that with some of the numbers that come out of the analytics.
Bobby, lastly, before we let you go, we really appreciate your time. As I said, I watched all the games, and one thing stuck out to me, especially when I watched all the Canadian kids in the combine. And I'd like to hear from you because you're the expert. I'm not. I just see with my eyes. I'm there at many MLS games and college and university games. But I believe still today our Canadian kids, even watching this combine, are a little bit behind. Not a lot, but a little bit behind of the rest when it comes to fitness and the overall fitness package of a player. Am I off on that, or do you believe we still have a little bit to climb there?
No, I think if you look at some of our guys that are there, I think the fitness is not something that's an issue. You look at most of the Canadians. I mean, we have a diverse group. That 3 of them are coming from university environment, another one from a pro environment, and I think they're physically ready and in a good way because they've been in the environment to be able to go that way. It's once we start getting into our younger players, you see a little bit of that difference. But at the same time, one thing I think we still do have a very good advantages on the technical side of things. I think our players are generally very good technical players, and I think that's one thing we bring to the table, and I think that's something important important to note that, you know, as Canadian players, we do have very good technical players. We just need to keep on nurturing them so that they keep on playing this game, and that's the most important thing.
As we let you go, Bobby, 2018, a year from now, give us a name or two we need to watch out for coming out of Sigma that could go high into the draft, or someone that will possibly open up eyes all over MLS.
Yeah, I think always our goal, Anthony, as you've seen the last few years, is to have players involved in this, and we've been blessed to have many of our players involved in this process and getting to the league. And I think, you know, coming up, a player like Marcel Zayach, who's at the University of Akron and just finished is in his freshman year there and had a very good freshman year this year. I think next year with a good year, and that's what's expected of him, he could be a very hot prospect, not only from a Canadian aspect, but from a North American aspect.
Outstanding. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the combine, enjoy the draft, and let's hope that Chris and Kwame go high in the draft, my friend. Thank you again for making time.
Thank you very much, as always, Anthony.
Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma. Everyone all over MLS in North America knows Sigma now, and it is no surprise what they're doing. They're developing wonderful MLS players. They're developing players for Europe, national team players. This is a program here in Canada, not just in Ontario, that I consider the top. Not because they are friends, not because I know them. They produce, and it is shown year after year. This academy has produced wonderful players, wonderful human beings off the pitch, and they do a great job. Bobby, his brother Costa, the whole group should be very, very proud. We'll take a quick commercial break. Coming back, Leo Molinelli of Corriere Canadese will talk about TFC in the offseason. And then at 8:30, yes, sir, sit down, buckle up your seatbelt, get your popcorn, get your peanuts. Will Johnson is joining us right here live from Orlando City to talk about a lot of things, not just the article. Like, I want you to understand something out there. I'm not going to go full out 110% and attack him right away on the article because I got it right here ready. We're going to talk to him a little bit about signing on with Orlando. He could have signed anywhere else, but he chose Orlando. Why? We'll talk to him about, he's going into Canada camp again. And then, of course, you think I'm going to let the interview go by and not get into the meat of it all and me being, sour and leaving a bad taste in my mouth? No. What do you think is written up here? Donkey? Fool? Come on. Wake up and smell the coffee. Totera has been doing this for 25 years. I don't lie. I'm transparent. I shoot as many don't like to shoot, straight up and man-to-man, face-to-face, just like I did with Josie Altidore. He didn't like the first game of the season. I went into the locker room and I said to him, straight up, Josie, you're paid big bucks to score big goals. You haven't. What do you want to say to the fans? And he gave me a real big-time death stare and an answer, and I had no problem with that. And then at the end of the season, you know what I did? And you can ask a lot of the media members there at the season-ending press conference where Josie Altidore was there. I got the first question in. And I said to Josie, first of all, I got to eat some humble pie. Right to him. I owe you a big-time apology. You showed up big time for this team in the playoffs down the stretch. You were a real big-time performer. You earned your paycheck, so I'll eat some humble pie. It's simple as that. Simple as that. But you gotta call them the way you see them. And that's why it left a sour taste in my mouth with Will. I put out a request there to have Will on. Boom! Will Johnson comes to red card at 8:30 right here. Next, Leo Molinelli of Corriere Canadese. Right after this commercial break. Stay tuned.
You're my brother and you're loyal to me? You're gonna tell me first.
I'll put my Beretta to my own head and blow my brains out.
That's good.
It's not over until you say it's over.
Now, I've got some things to talk to you.
Just cash your chips in now while you're still winning. Do you understand me, Jimmy?
One day, you're gonna learn to respect me. Some rats, you gotta kill.
You're not just one of us. You're family.
I know these guys, you don't. This is not over.
Nothing's gonna happen to you as long as I'm around.
I gave her a kiss, and that was the last time I ever saw my mother.
From the far reaches of the Orient comes an age-old recipe passed down from generation to generation. Introducing Cheetah Power Surge Caffeine-Free Energy Drink.
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Thanks again to Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma, joining us live from Los Angeles, and the Combine and the draft coming up in the next couple days. Big moment for a lot of young men in their life. And don't forget, stay tuned. In minutes from now, 8:30, Will Johnson of Orlando City joins us right here. This will be an explosive interview you're not going to want to miss, because if you know me, I don't hide. I don't sugarcoat it. I say it the way it is. And boy, oh boy, did Will Johnson have a lot to say in that article in the newspaper the other day. Joining us right now, a guy that does great work with his newspaper, the only one of its kind here in Ontario, and has been around a number of years, from Corriere Canadese, Leo Molinelli. Leo, welcome.
Hi, Anthony. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. Leo, never a boring day here in the city of Toronto covering the team TFC, and this is what I love about it, and I'm sure you love it as well, because coming from Europe and Italy, it's like this every day. But here, it's starting to pick up, which I love about the game and the sport in this city. Leo, let's talk about the offseason. TFC losing some players and making some adjustments, signing some young guys to homegrown, as we saw today. Some guys have been let go from TFC too. Some have been brought on, so on and so on. But I think, Leo, they still lack a number 10 and a quality veteran defender. Your thoughts on those two?
Yes, I think that you're probably right. And I've spoken the other day with Bill Manning for an interview for Corriere, and he also confirmed that they are looking for an attacking midfielder and probably two defenders. So I think you are set on the right way. About the people that left, I think that talking about Will Johnson is probably the most important loss that the roster has had in this market season, because I think it's not going to be easy for them to fill the hole that he left in the roster.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So let's talk about this, Leo. Obviously, the season's getting closer and closer to the preseason in camp. The transfer market is closing in about 3 weeks or so. So things have to start happening now. The draft is happening. All the general managers, the coaches, and presidents are down there in Los Angeles. I'm sure lots of talks are taking place. But I believe they need to replace a guy like Will Johnson. They lost his heart, his grit, his passion. We saw what he did with the Canadian Championships, basically almost being gone for a whole year with that injury and winning the game. I also believe, Leo, I think in my heart of hearts, who the people I've been talking to, and I trust my sources, that I think they're going back to Italy to look for a veteran defender and possibly a number 10 that is maybe in his early 30s, maybe late 30s, that has a lot of experience to come here. Your thoughts?
I don't know. I think that probably the most important thing I've heard a lot of people talking about this lack of attacking midfielder. So they're probably right. I think that with the 3-5-2 that Vanni uses in the last part of the season, they were pretty good in attacking and defending. It was a pretty good combination. So I think that they probably want to change the kind of play if they want to bring in an attacking midfielder. And about Italy, I don't know. My only concern my only doubt when we talk about Italy is about the salary cap, because there are not a lot of Italian people. Also because we as Italian are a little bit like viziati, as we say it in Italian. So if you can help with the translation.
It's basically, I know what you're saying, Leo. I think some of these players in Italy are expecting much more money that they think that they can get here.
They don't like to maybe too much to leave Italy for something that they don't know, and they want probably a lot of money. And
Leo, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Leo. Something just came to my mind. Back, I think a year ago or so, maybe more than that, Gilardino was in talks here with TFC and he never came. Do you think he regrets now not coming here to MLS in Toronto?
No, he regrets a lot. He left his agent because the deal didn't go through. I mean, Gilardino was okay to come to Toronto. It was Toronto that didn't want Gilardino at the end.
At the end, yes, but I think that there was serious talk for him to come here.
No. Yeah, but he wanted to come here. he actually wanted to come here. And when he decided to come here, at the end, Toronto decided to move on the fall. And that's why he left his agent and changed agent and didn't want to know about him anymore.
Leo, I believe this year is a massive year for TFC. I want your thoughts. I believe this is the year they have to win it all. I believe if they don't get to the final and win it all, in a year from now, we'll be talking here about, I guarantee you, we'll be talking about half the team gone and possibly the head coach, general manager gone. I believe that they must win in 2017, the championship, or there's going to be many, many changes. Your thoughts on that?
We spoke about this when we talk to each other, and the feeling that I had when there was the season final press conference was that the big part of the locker room made some sort of a pact to stay everybody in Toronto and try to win next season, because they probably feel that they got now something really, really strong. They feel that they are probably one of the best team in the league. They now have confidence and they build something that is actually good. I don't know if it's something that can happen, because as we saw this season, it depends how you are in shape when you arrive in September, and you can lose a final like dominating for 120 minutes, and then at the penalty kick you lose. So I think they have to try. They got the roster, they got all the potentiality to try and to win, but to win it and to arrive in the final 2 years in a row, I think it's pretty hard to do it.
Leo, in 30 seconds or less, because we've got to get to Will Johnson, 30 seconds or less, I'm going to ask you this, and I want a yes or a no, and very quickly you can add a little something to it. I believe in my heart of hearts we will see an Italian coach here in TFC or in MLS sooner than later. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, Greg Vanney's here, and I have a lot of time for Greg Vanney, and I believe he did a pretty decent job. But I also believe in my heart of hearts, if the opportunity is there, whether it's with TFC, Montreal, whoever, and the team starts really poor at the beginning of the season, that I believe we will see an Italian coach of quality here in MLS, in Toronto, or somewhere here. Your thoughts?
I want to spell it good because my English is not good. It's never going to be too soon.
Interesting. Leo, thank you so much again for joining us. Keep up the great work at Corriere Canadese, and I hope you stay tuned to our explosive interview with Will Johnson after this, my friend.
Absolutely. I don't want to lose it for anything.
Leo Molinelli of Corriere Canadese, we thank him so much for making time. Stay tuned. Buckle up. Get your popcorn. Get your peanuts. Your favorite beverage. Sit down. Stay calm. Relax, because here we bring you the goods. I'm the one that gets hyper. I'm the one that brings it out in full force. No exception tonight. Will Johnson of Orlando City next here on Red Card. Stay tuned.
Here's the deal. Cheetah Power Surge is an all-natural blend of Chinese ginseng and royal jelly that gives you an all-natural burst of energy without the caffeine crash. Feel refreshed and revived with Cheetah Power Surge Energy Drink. Hey, life moves pretty fast. Cheetah helps you keep up. Cheetah Power Surge caffeine-free energy drink. Grab it, they're going fast.
Now in green apple and mango flavors.
Today what we're going to do is we're going to join rapini and cipollini together with some new recipes. Today I'm going to make you salmon alla cipollini with a little bit of rapini. We got some fresh salmon, which I cut myself, beautiful, and put just a drop of Tabasco sauce, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and put just a little bit of rapini, and my favorite, cipollini. Oh, I love them. These onions are sweet, and I'm gonna put just a little bit of wine, and a drop of balsamic vinegar. I wish you could smell this. This is incredible. Gonna put just a drop of extra virgin olive oil in here. And this is a quick dish, and it's spectacular. Look how amazing that is. Rapini with cipollini and gorgeous salmon. Oh my God.
D'Angelo Basket Fresh Cipollini in your favorite supermarket.
life is timing, and timing is life. Things can change in a millisecond. Family is the most important thing in a man's life. Don't matter how many cars, how much cash, and how powerful he is. If he don't got no family, he's nothing.
Mr. Trafficante, what can I do for you? I owe you and your family so very much.
I appreciate that you're meeting with me, but what I'm gonna tell you, you're probably gonna think I'm fucking crazy.
I want this fucking Sonny Trafficante dead. He's costing us money. He's gotta be dead.
What should we do?
Let's just see how it plays out.
I want to be by myself tonight. You guys need to go?
What exactly is going on?
Senator wants people to leave. People gotta leave.
Yeah, look, he's gonna be at the jazz club tonight. And make sure that fucking piece of shit is dead.
Came here to ask you for a favor.
Anything.
I'm gonna go away. I don't know for how long. And I want you to take care of my family. I want you to give me a...
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Thanks again to Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma joining us live from LA and the Combine. He's getting ready for the draft. A couple of his players, Kwame Awuya, Chris Nanko, getting ready possibly to go pretty high in the draft. And another one of his former players who will be joining our next guest, Kyle Larn, is Canadian men's national team player and now from Orlando City, Will Johnson. Will, welcome, my friend.
Anthony, how are you?
I'm very good, and I really appreciate you making time to join us. I know that you've had a hectic, busy schedule, holiday season, settling in with a new club, so we thank you so much, Will, for making time first and foremost. Will, let's get right into it. About a year ago or so, I tweeted out the exclusive tweet of you making your way here to Toronto, and the journey began. Obviously, the great relationship you have with Bill Manning, and I think Bill is the top executive in MLS and one of the best in North American sports. I'm sure he had a word or two to convince you to come here to Toronto. Why did you decide Toronto first and foremost?
Yeah, for Bill was definitely one of the two big reasons. You know, Bill, my previous relationship, having worked with the guy, having known him, what he's all about, I trust him. I take a bullet for the guy. I think he's fantastic, and I hope the Toronto fans really appreciate and understand just what you said, that they have the best executive in the business. So that's the first part, and then the second part was Michael Bradley, top player, guy I know very well, told me nothing but good things about the club, the new stadium coming in, the fans, all those things, fantastic. And so those two guys are guys' opinions that I greatly respect, and they were the ones who convinced me to come to Toronto.
Well, I've known you for a number of years covering Team Canada. You left blood, sweat, and tears for your nation. You still will leave blood, sweat, and tears. You've represented Canada proudly, and you're a salt-of-the-earth type of guy. And I believe you left it all out there on the field each and every time you played for TFC. Once the talks began with TFC and yourself, and knowing that this was getting closer and closer, did you at any time say, I need to play a certain amount of games, a certain amount of minutes, this is the role that I want to play? Or did you basically say, I'm here at your disposal to do what you need? You tell us.
Yeah, listen, in the beginning, I knew that I was coming to a very good team. I was coming off of an injured year. I went through a horrific injury and had to rebuild my ability to run, to play soccer at a high level, all those things. And so when I came in, my expectations were low. I wanted to fight. There are no guarantees in sports. You have to earn playing time every single time you step on the field. And so I showed up at camp with the mentality that, listen, I'm here to compete for playing time. I'm here to compete to push my teammates to make them better. I'm here to make sure that I show everybody that this injury is not going to define me. I'm going to move forward, and I want to do that playing in the red of Toronto FC.
Will, if you can just get a little bit closer to your phone, it seems like it's crackling there. Let me ask you about the goal that will go down in history forever and ever in TFC and their supporters, in my mind as well, in that Canadian Championship, that goal that will never be forgotten, where you left it all out there. We're just showing our fans now that replay, and it was an unbelievable moment. Talk about that goal that I'm sure you'll never forget and TFC supporters will never forget.
Yeah, and an awesome moment. First and foremost, just because, listen, you know, the smiles on my teammates' faces. We had a very young team on the field that night. The way that our group came together and rallied around that moment was special for me. For me, being able to teammates appreciate what a great moment it was. That part was great. Obviously, the injury part was the other side that ended up really derailing what I thought was a fantastic start to my Toronto career and was ultimately going to be the catapult to a long, successful relationship. So the injury is always going to be part of that goal, because as big of a goal as it was and as huge as it was for us to win that Canadian Championship for our club and get that trophy back in Toronto where it belongs, it definitely had a big impact on the rest of my season and obviously no longer being a member of Toronto Football Club.
Well, let's fast forward now. Let's go to the MLS Cup final, and a heartbreaking, devastating loss for the team, for yourself, for the city, and for the captain, Michael Bradley. I think I've expressed this to you and many out there. To me, Michael Bradley is the price of admission. Michael Bradley, when I watch a game, whether it's in the press box or in the seats with my sons, I tell them to watch this guy because he's the real deal. Never takes a second or a game off, and he exudes confidence, and he's what young players need to look up to. It broke my heart seeing him miss that kick. But let's talk about that final, Will. Talk about the crowd, the way the city embraced leading up to that game. Talk about even the field. We heard some comments that maybe the field wasn't as great as it was. And also, the way that Seattle had no shots and you guys threw it all at them.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Anytime you talk about it, right, you understand that what an opportunity that we missed, right? But you talk about Michael Bradley first and foremost, probably our best player on the night, led by example, completely shut down Ladero, made him invisible. And so on the night, you tip your hat to Michael and understand that penalty shootouts are harsh and somebody has to miss. And unfortunately, he was one of our guys on the wrong end of that. Our fans were amazing. The night was amazing. It's still a night that you never forget. But, when you lose a final, it stays with you forever. You never fully get over that feeling, and it's always a lot harder to lose than it is. The pain from losing is always a lot more than the ecstasy from winning. So that part's tough still to swallow even to this day.
Absolutely. So let's move forward now. Talk about 2017. Canadian new GM of Orlando City, Nicky Bulich, comes knocking on your door. They want you there. You now sign with Orlando City. What was behind that? Why Orlando City? You had a chance to sign with anyone, but you chose Orlando City. Obviously, Kyle Larner, a young Canadian, some other Canadians in the system. You chose Orlando. Why?
First, probably the player-coach relationship is one that's extremely important to me. I like to play for someone. I like that aggressive personality that Jason Kreis has, and we've obviously worked together for 5 years in Salt Lake City and had a lot of success there. So that was quite honestly the driving factor. The stadium, again, is going to be fantastic, just like BMO Field is a beautiful place to play soccer. Orlando Stadium is going to be the same. It's unbelievable. I think people will be absolutely blown away. So those two reasons were the big ones why I chose to come down to Orlando.
Well, let's talk about, obviously, looking forward to 2017 in Orlando, but obviously leaving Toronto, and an article that came out a day or so ago. And I'll be honest with you, Will, it left a sour taste in my mouth because, as I said, I think you're an outstanding a player for country and for club, and you've left it all out there. But reading some of the things, I was a little bit surprised, a little bit shocked, and it left a sour taste in my mouth. And I thought to myself, this isn't the Will Johnson that I know, that I've known for a number of years on and off the field. And some of the things here that you had said, you were very disappointed. And you talked about some of your teammates, Clint, Michael, Seba, and Josie. The platform is yours, Will, but to me, I know that a lot of TFC supporters still have a fond memory of you and your time here. I want you to clear the air. You talk about how disappointed you were and how everything unfolded.
Yeah, I think overall that this season was awesome. I reflect on my time in Toronto as nothing but successful. I had a fantastic year. The club had a fantastic year. All of those things don't change. I understand that some people see this as a kind of a parting shot from me in a negative way on my way out the door. And for me, that just wasn't the case. The part that you bring up about my teammates is something that, yeah, probably not a good idea to bring up individuals just because injuries happen at different times throughout the year. I had opportunities based on results to get their spots back, all that stuff. So, you know, when you bring up the part about naming individuals and their specific injuries and getting their spots back, I agree with you. That's not me, and that's part that I regret. You know, the other part in the player relationship, the player-coach relationship that it's not a knock on his character, it's not a knock on his leadership skills or his coaching abilities, but I just prefer a coach who's a little bit different. You know, I worked well with Caleb Porter and Jason Christ, and for whatever reason, the easy part about leaving Toronto FC was to walk away from the professional relationship with Greg. I really like him as a guy, but just for me and my style, it was something that I felt I needed something different. And so for me, for anybody who thinks that I'm trying to, you know, paint Greg in a negative light, that's just simply not me. It's simply not the case. I want people to understand that I think Greg's done a really good job with Toronto, and I'm not going to go through each decision and how it was made per se, but obviously the way that things ended with me and as it pertains to my individual circumstances for the final half of the year after my injury, those parts in private conversations that Greg and I had left me disappointed. And ultimately, I decided that it was time for me to move on and find a new challenge. But make no mistake about me leaving the city, the fans, the teammates, you know, Bill Manning, all these things. That was very, very difficult for me. Overall, it was a very difficult decision for me and my family to make, to leave Toronto FC. But overall, I think I made a right decision, and I think it was probably mutually beneficial for me and the club for us to go our separate ways. So I hope that kind of clears it up a little bit and makes a little more sense to people. I know I've been kind of rambling on a little bit in that. I just wanted to make sure that people had full perspective of the fact that I love Toronto. I love it's a great city. I love our country. I want our national team to do well. I think Toronto is a huge, huge part in developing young players for our national team. The investments that MLSE makes in Major League Soccer that benefits our Canadian national team are second to none and should never, ever be taken for granted by anybody who wants to continue to grow the game in Canada like you and I do. So I just want people to have the big perspective that, you know, other than when you play in Orlando, I'm going to be a big Toronto FC fan. I have lots of relationships there, and in no way, shape, or form am I criticizing anybody, you know, that still works for Toronto Football Club.
And I love that, Will. And I'm glad you said all you said, because now I've gained the respect back, because I'll be very honest, I'll put the cards on the table, Will, and I'll tell you straight to your face when I see you again and again. Now that you've cleared it up, I feel a lot differently in regards to the time you spent here and the you know, the quotes and the comments you made a couple days ago, because as I said, it left a bad taste in my mouth, because you know, you're being honest, and that's what I love about it. Too many times today in professional sports, we have players that are not brutally honest, that it's practically scripted each and every time that they talk about whatever situation took place in the game. They're politically correct. I don't like that. I like a guy that at least is honest up front like you. And you just said that for whatever reason, you know, it just didn't click between you and Greg. Hey, you're not the first player to say that. I'm sure there's others that will say, hey, it's not clicking with me and Greg. Let's move on. I'm going to be a professional about it. But you cleared it up. The only other thing I would say is this, Will, and I want you to give me an answer, because people will call me on the carpet for this. They'll say, Anthony, you used the word twice that Will used, which was sacrifice. And you mentioned that you sacrificed your body for the team. And what I said on my show a couple nights ago, and you can go back and watch it, is simply this. I don't mind how you want to phrase it, how you want to say it, but to me, sacrifice is a big word. When I think of sacrifice, I think of the soldiers and the men and women in my country that serve for me and many others that lose their lives. They're sacrificing. I said simply this, maybe I'm wrong, shame on me, but you're earning a paycheck, it's getting cashed, and for you to score that beautiful goal like you did, it will go down in history, but really it's not a sacrifice. You're playing the game that many young kids would love to play. Your response?
Fair comment, 100%. Anytime you compare, soccer and what we do as professionals to the military and what they do to protect our freedoms all across the world, there's no comparisons. Those are true sacrifices. I'll go with sacrifice length. When I talk about.
You just cut out there. Sorry, Will. Say it again. Will, did we got you there? It seems like Will's cell phone is cut out. You there, Will? Do we have you, Will? Do we have you, Will? It seems like Will's cell phone is cut out on him. Will, are you there? It seems like his cell phone cut out. We'll take a quick commercial break. Coming back, let's hope we can reconnect with Will to finish off on a good note and wish him luck with Orlando City. It seems like his cell just cut out. Quick commercial break, and we'll come back, see if we can hook up with Will Johnson of Orlando City.
Word of honor that you're going to look after them.
You were with this guy all your life, and you betrayed him. Yeah, you delivered him to me.
Can I trust you? Because if I can't trust you, I have to come back and kill you. I swore to God that I would never tell anybody, because I don't want nobody to think I'm crazy. The last thing I remember is my mother saying to me...
Welcome back to Red Card. We've reconnected with Will Johnson of Orlando City. Will, they can send people to the moon, but they can't get us cell phones that don't cut out. Unbelievable, my friend. Are you there, Will? Oh, we're having trouble once again with the cell phone connection. We're hoping to connect with Will. Hopefully he'll join us in a few seconds because it seems like the cell phone just cut out there. But I got to give a lot of credit to Orlando City, Nicky Butelich, in signing Will Johnson, because I believe this guy is going to help a lot of their young players. He's going to be a leader on and off the field for them. Have we connected with Will yet? Will, you back on?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I was saying that we could send someone to the moon, but we can't get cell phones that work for us here on Earth without cutting out. Unbelievable, Will.
Yeah, I apologize. But just, your point about sacrifice, the military stuff, whenever you talk about like things like that, that's real sacrifice. What we do as entertainers and soccer players is not really a sacrifice. That part, you're right. The part about that play, and I make that play every single time knowing that there's a good chance I'm going to get hurt when the goalie's running, straight at you. That's definitely not the right word to use in terms of talking about making a play for your teammates. So to anybody who took that the wrong way, that's my bad.
So let's finish off with this, Will. I think you're going to one of the gems in all of MLS. The fan support in Orlando is absolutely lights out, as good as TFC. They pack them in. It's a fabulous atmosphere. And I also think you're going to be really surprised, I believe, in this year coming up with them, with the additions and some of the youngsters that have more experience under the belt, like Kyle Lauren. Talk about, your time that you spent with Jason and with Nicky and what they talked to you about, what they're expecting from you, what you want to bring to the table. Tell us a little bit about now moving on to Orlando.
Yeah, it's a younger group. It's got a lot less experience. It's much different than Toronto in terms of where they are in their project, with Jason just having taken over at the end of last year. Kyle is obviously a fantastic piece, a very young player who's had 2 excellent seasons in Major League Soccer. So when you talk about exciting Canadian players that I get to work with here in Orlando, he's the first one that comes to mind. The fans, the support, all of that stuff. It'll be great. It'll be a really fun
good, unique opportunity for me. The expectations are that I bring veteran leadership. I bring a fight and a desire to compete that maybe some of these kids haven't seen before and don't quite understand that at this level to win. The competitiveness that's required and the dedication to being a professional that's needed to be successful in this league is maybe something they haven't seen before. So that's why I've been brought here to provide that and to try to help push this thing along as quickly as possible.
Will, you've played in cities that are, for the most part, cold climate cities. Now you're going to Orlando, where it is unbelievably hot throughout the year-round. It's humid sometimes of the year. It's scorching hot. How are you going to adapt and change now maybe your day-to-day routine, because you're going down there in a city where the temperature is going to be fantastic and you can train outside year-round? We're here with TFC. You had to train in the bubble at the beginning. I'm sure in Portland it was just pretty close, as much the same, the temperature. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, the weather right now is fantastic. I joke I'm just making a tour around the country. I obviously starting in Salt Lake, up to Portland, across to Toronto. Now I'm just coming down here. I just want to make sure I experience all climates to make sure that I, when I hopefully continue on as a coach, I know exactly what each climate's like in Major League Soccer. But it'll be tough. It'll be different than playing in the cold. I actually prefer playing in the cold, so this will be new for me. But the flip side to that is that when road teams come into Orlando, they're going to have to deal with some pretty extreme weather, weather conditions, and I'll be used to them, given the fact that obviously I'll live here and play here. So I look forward to that. I look forward to that challenge. I think we had that in Salt Lake with the altitude. That was pretty cool. In Portland, we had the turf, and in Toronto, we had some cold weather days with some wind kicking off the lake, things like that. I think the humidity and the heat in Orlando will be our home field advantage, and I look forward to taking advantage of that.
Just before we let you go, I can't let you go without talking about Canada. A couple minutes on that, Will, and then we'll let you go. We really appreciate your time. We know that you're a busy guy with family and with club, and now with country, with Canada being called into the camp again, and I'm glad to see that happen, because I'll call a spade a spade. During the Mexico games, under Benito Floro, I thought you, Jonathan Osorio, a couple other guys, I'll be honest, were mistreated in many ways. Were not called up when they should have been called up. Were disrespected. I'll use that word, disrespected. And I said that, not because you're on the line, Will. I can dig up footage and let you and others listen to it again. I thought that was so wrong. But I want to talk about this new Canada. Obviously, they're going to be getting a new head coach sooner than later with important competitions coming up, on and on. But talk about the youngsters now, Will, in this Canadian team. Kyle Lauren. We saw Manjakar James have a wonderful World Cup qualifying. We're seeing now the Julian de Guzman. I call him one of the greatest players in Canadian history. Anatiba starting to take a much lesser role and in the background's helping out. Talk about Canada. Talk about the future.
I love the future. I think our youth is getting better and better every year, and I think a lot of it has to do with the investments that our Canadian MLS-based clubs, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, are making, the amount of money they're investing in. So we're getting to see some young players starting to come through. The challenge now is to try to turn that potential and the talent of these young guys into into results. We as a country struggle with going to Central America. We have never been able to quite figure out how to play the same on the road that we do at home, because going to Central America is so very difficult. And so we have to try to get these young guys in early and get them acclimated to horrible places to play, but understand that if you can survive 90 minutes there, you're going to on a trip of a lifetime to a World Cup or to a Hex and some big games, and that's just the next step that we have to take. And I know that they're going to change the format to make it a little bit probably easier for us as a country, but it'll never be quote-unquote easy for Canada to get to a World Cup, just given our population, given the fact that we don't play soccer outside year-round and so on and so forth. It's always going to be a challenge. We're always going to be fighting for respect. And so the quicker that that our young Canadian contingent can learn that, the better. And so that's why when I was invited by Michael Fittler to come down to this January camp with a bunch of kids that are probably half my age and close to 17, 18 years old, I jumped at it because for me, I need to get down there early and explain to them that this is an opportunity of a lifetime and that you don't just come to Florida to get some sun, hang out with the guys and get fit for your MLS season. You come down to represent Canada as a country and understand that this January camp, while there's not an official World Cup qualifier game for 3 or 4 years, this January camp is the beginning of the cycle, and you need to treat this with as much respect as you do the 2 days leading up to that first qualifier, whenever it may be.
So explain to me this then, Will. For 45 years of my life, I'm a proud Canadian, but I'm also fiercely Italian from my roots. And I've said this time and time again, Will. I think I mentioned it to you. In my house of Canada, wherever to play Italy, in a friendly, in a World Cup game, my dream of dreams, I would have Canadian jerseys all in my home, my wife and 2 sons. How come in this country we cannot get the support we need? We got it in Vancouver against Mexico, which was fabulous, but it seems to me we keep getting it for the women, and we keep getting it packed for the women with all Canadian voices and supporters that are supporting them. How come here in Canada, when Jamaica plays us, Mexico, Trinidad, on, everyone's there cheering for the opponent and not for the country that I love and will die for? Why, Will?
That's the easiest question you've asked me all night, pal. Respect is earned. You have to earn the right for people to come and watch you, and you do that with results. You don't do that with failing to make the Hex for 30 years or however long it's been. You don't do that by continually letting people down. If you continually lose and you continually let people down in a way that they don't feel proud to come out and support you, and people work hard to earn money to come and watch us play soccer. And like I said, if you want respect and you want people to treat you as professionals, then you have to get results as a professional soccer playing nation. And then so that's like I kind of alluded to in this January camp. We need to get to a point where we compete and we get results against countries with less resources, smaller populations, so on and so forth. And so, starting tomorrow night when I get to Fort Lauderdale, that's the message to all the people, all the young guys who are looking and coming into camp for the first time. That's the message. Listen, guys, if you want people to come and watch you play soccer, you need to earn that right, earn that respect.
Lastly, in 1 minute that we have left, Will, I'm going to ask you this. I know that MLS with Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto have been absolutely outstanding in giving opportunities to young Canadian players. In many ways, I feel it's wrong that a lot of times they've been embarrassed or forced to play Canadian kids. Sometimes they haven't been good enough, but they've played them to appease the Canadian supporters out there. And I thank them for that. But I believe it's time for us to have our own Canadian league coast to coast. I'm pretty close to the situation that's taking place here in Canada. Hopefully we can get this league kicked off very, very soon. But I wanted to hear you from your thoughts. If MLS has those 3 clubs, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, and only has enough spots to give a certain amount of Canadians, do you believe that other spots could be and should be created for us to have a league for other Canadian players and Canadian coaches?
We need another show for this topic. It's so complex and complicated in terms of how long you have to get it going, what kind of investors, what kind of funding you can get to get it off the ground and make it a product that people want to go and watch. Obviously, with your the 3 big cities being already in Major League Soccer, you're at a disadvantage in terms of what type of a league you can create. I think there's something there, don't get me wrong. There's definitely something there that would help our country, that would help soccer in Canada as a whole. There's most definitely something there, but you need to ask somebody with a better IQ than I have in terms of how you do it successfully. I'm not sure. There's definitely something there, but I don't have the answer or even a good opinion to give you on how you bridge that gap.
Well, I want to take this time to thank you so much for making a lot of time out of your busy schedule, your busy life with a young family. I've always said this to you and to many out there. Will Johnson, you've always left it out there, blood, sweat, and tears for your country. You'll continue to do that. You've never taken a second or a game off for your country or any club you've played for. Thank you for manning up, coming on the show, answering the questions that I asked you in regards to the article. You didn't shy away. Good luck with Orlando City. Good luck with this new chapter in your life. And I'd love to have us talk about one day you playing for Canada in the World Cup in Qatar. That would be amazing. God bless you. Thank you for being real and transparent, Will, and good luck, my friend.
Thanks, Anthony. I'm happy to come on any time, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't think I'm going to make. I don't know if I'll make Qatar as a player, but maybe I can be a part of it one way or another. That'd be nice.
Outstanding. Pleasure was mine. There he is, a Hall of Famer here in Canada, and now with Orlando City, Will Johnson. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll tee up the next show here on Red Card. But again, this guy to me is the real deal. He's transparent. He's honest. He came on. He answered the questions. He didn't hide. He answered everything I asked him that you wanted me to ask out there on Twitter land, and he manned up. And I got a lot of time for this guy, even more. I ate some of my humble pie too, which is fine. I can do that. And he answered all his critics. And I'm glad that he put everything to rest and he made sure that everyone understands where he stands with club, his departure, and country. That's what I love about guys like this talking their mind and being honest. Quick commercial break, and we'll clean it all up and give you our guests coming up in the next show next week. Stay tuned right here on Red Card.
Giacomino, ti voglio bene, bedroom man, sangue mio. I gave her a kiss, and it was the last time I ever saw my mother. I'll tell you a story. Nobody with our people.
You want to talk to Jack?
Hey, I sell speed. I sell adrenaline.
Hey, I got enough trombone players in my band.
How are you, Jack? Everything all right? I love to shoot.
First, what you do is you pull your intestines out of your ass and you tie them in a Windsor knot around your neck, and then you talk to Jack.
You're a good man.
Make no mistake about it, I'm not a good man. But if you're my friend, and you're my brother, and you're loyal to me, you're gonna tell me first.
I'll put my Beretta to my own head and blow my brains out.
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Thanks again to Will Johnson of Orlando City. Really appreciate him joining us on the show. And as I said, hey, I asked him and I told him exactly how I felt. He answered everything. We talked about the article. He didn't shy away from nothing. He's a class act. Now I think everything is put to bed in a nice way. Everything is settled. Good luck to Will. Good luck to Orlando City. Smart move by Nicky Bulich bringing in a veteran like this. Well done to him. I thank you all out there. God bless you for tuning in, for tweeting. I can't thank you enough for making time out of your lives as well, for joining us each and every time here on Red Card for the last 6 years plus. I'll have a couple scoops coming up this week from the draft. Stay tuned. I'll have a TFC angle of possibly a player or two that I believe could be coming here or they've been in contact with. Also, we'll talk about a couple of the players that might be headed here to MLS with some other clubs as well. Thanks again to Bobby Smyrniotis of Sigma. He is a guy that's getting ready for the draft with his two players, Kwame Awuya and Chris Nanko. Those guys hopefully will go high in the draft. And Adonijah Reed, by all accounts, has opened up a lot of eyes of everyone there. He's young, energetic. He understands what needs to take place down there at the Combine, and he's done that so far in the games he's played. He's shown it. Now let's hope in some of the interviews and talking to some of the clubs and GMs, he gives them the answers they want to hear, because I believe this kid is also a hidden gem in the draft. Thanks again to Leonardo Molinelli of Corriere Canadese. Jordan, behind the scenes, my producer. well done. We had a little technical difficulty with Will's cell phone. It cut out, but as I said to Will, we can get a man to the moon. But these cell phones continuously cut out, whether you're under a bridge, in a certain area. It seems to me never to fail that they cut out. And you could tell by the quality that unfortunately Will must have been somewhere quiet. He's got a young family, and so they're probably asleep, and he wanted to be somewhere quiet. The reception wasn't great, but nonetheless, hey, we thank him because, hey, he stayed on here for 30 minutes. God bless him for doing it. Thank you again, and we'll catch you here live, never pre-taped, Monday night. Good night.
Tale of woe, but it's true.